What can the Boston Celtics expect from Payton Pritchard this season? It's not going to be what a lot of people think.
Rain and Jace, how we started raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Big.
Hey there, welcome back to the show. I'm John Karalis, and today's show all about Payton Pritchard. We did a show about Payton Pritchard's potential extension a few weeks ago, so you can check that out to talk about the extension stuff. But I'm doing a series on Celtics on SI about what the Celtics can expect from every player. And so today I happen to have written about Payton Pritchard, so I figured it's a good time to talk about some of the stuff. He's done a couple of interviews on podcasts, so let's get into some of what we can expect. Later on in the third segment, we're going to redraft 2020 and see where he might fall in that draft. We'll in the second segment, we'll get into some of the improvements. What can he actually improve? But we're going to start here. Let's get to our buddy, Tom Westerholm. Hi, Tom.
What up?
Oh, just back, refreshed, ready to rock, ready to take this off season into the home stretch with plenty of podcasts.
Looking tan for the first time in your life.
Yeah. It's notoriously tough for me to tan. So let's get with let's start with the debate over whether he should start or be a sixth man, because there have been questions. Everybody's asking who should start, who shouldn't start, and there are a few different theories on that. I have my own theories on all of that, but my feeling with Pritchard, twofold. I think he should come off the bench, not because this is he hasn't earned it or anything like that. Like, people have to get past, I think, he has earned this and therefore he must start. I feel like that you're forcing maybe not the best combination of players to start the game just by saying, well, he has earned it, he has earned it. You don't do that in any other part of the game. But at the beginning, for some reason, people don't seem to care about what the fit is or anything like that. It's like, nope, these are your starters because these are the people who have earned it. Stop that, in my opinion. Just stop it. Payton Pritchard is going to play plenty of minutes. He's going to play 32 some odd minutes, which is going to be more than most people on the team. He should come off the bench. Number one, because the Celtics only have two ball handlers. I'm not counting Mike Conley because he's not going to play much. He's just not a reliable 70-plus game performer. And number two, why don't people want Payton Pritchard to kind of like anchor a second unit? Why don't they want Payton Pritchard to be like the guy that comes in? If the starters are struggling, Payton Pritchard comes in off the bench and can create his own shot and get hot. If there's a run going on, he can extend it. He can start. He can anchor a little bit at least in the regular season, some second units, especially with Jaylen Brown out. I think him coming off the bench makes so much more sense than starting him. And it's in my opinion, it's complimenting him to say, I believe that you are capable of doing a lot of these things on your own. I'd rather have you doing these things on your own, just at a different time of the game.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable. I also think I don't entirely agree that you should never be like, hey, like this guy's earned it. I think that it's reserved for players who are, and I say this with every ounce of respect for Payton Pritchard. I think that argument is reserved for players who are above Payton Pritchard's caliber, right? Like if this, like there are things that like Jayson Tatum or like Jaylen Brown would have earned, right? Like Jaylen, like,
yeah, okay. That's
what
fair.
I mean? Like there are guys who have earned certain things, and Payton Pritchard is an awesome basketball player who's earned tons of respect, right? Who's earned like the label of a guy who could be a starter, who's earned, a guy who could win sixth man of the year, a guy who can, score 20, 30, all these things. Like, yeah, he deserves that. But a guy of Payton Pritchard's caliber, who again is a really excellent player and could start, has not necessarily earned that, like, he has to be in the starting lineup or else, he's going to cause problems in the locker room. Like, that's not the status that he's at. And that's okay. He's awesome and he could start. All of that aside, I agree with you completely. I think that the interesting thing that this team is going to experience, I think, this year that they haven't had before, because they've had, the security blanket of having 2 J's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they only have 1. So you are going to have to be a little bit more creative about where your buckets come from, right? Like, it's just, you have to be able to, and there's still plenty of buckets to be had, right? Payton Pritchard is a bucket. Jayson Tatum is a bucket. Paul George is going to score. Derek White's going to score. They're going to run good offense. I think some of these, the guys who showed some of what they can do last year, you might, whether it's Ron Harper Jr., Baylor Shireman, buckets, this team will get buckets, but I think you're going to have to be a little bit more intentional about how you go about creating them, how you go about creating lineups that can get them. Because before, you could just say, all right, Jayson's not on the floor, so here's Jaylen. It's like, yeah, problem solved. That is no longer available to you. And so you need to, be a little bit more creative. Maybe bring somebody off the bench who can score. Payton Pritchard is a prime example of that. And if you can make lineups that, if you can start your game, if you're starting your game with Derek White, Paul George, and Jayson Tatum in the starting lineup, your starting lineup is going to score. So then how do you make sure that Jayson Tatum, who, like at this point in his career, we have to start thinking about health stuff. How do you make sure that when he's on the bench, you still can score enough to potentially win a game? I think that's where you put Payton Pritchard on the bench and, start staggering minutes that way. So, yeah, I think it really just comes down to being creative with lineups. And, yeah, I think he should come off the bench too.
Yeah, the creativity with the lineups and all of those points are I think right where we should be. Like, understanding who the Celtics are, what they need, and who Pritchard is as a player. He is. I'm looking up the isolation stats as we speak, because Pritchard is one of the higher usage isolation guys in the league. So he averaged, 13% of the time he went into isolation, and 1.11 points per possession, which was pretty high. I mean, that's above Steph Curry, above James Harden, above Nikola Jokic, like above guys that you would think, I mean, maybe not Jokic, but he's a big guy. I think those qualify as isolations.
Sure.
Not far off of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's at 1.16. So Pritchard is a heavy isolation player. I just don't think if you put him, think about the starting lineup, right? Derek White, Jayson Tatum, Paul George, I'm going to say Sam Hauser, and pick a big. I think there's still some debate, but pick a big. It doesn't matter to me at this point.
Yeah.
Either big is going to be playing in the same spot on the floor. They're not stretching out. So would you rather have Pritchard instead of Hauser? I would rather have the more dynamic player coming off the bench, because you can stick Hauser, or maybe it's Shireman, or maybe it's Ugo, or maybe it's Jordan Walsh. I'd rather stick, I think, a lesser player in that starting lineup, because you don't need that guy in a lineup like the Celtics. To me, with White and Tatum and Paul George, guys that can do a lot of things through however many games Paul George plays, whatever. Guys who can do a lot of things and are going to have the ball in their hands, and whatever the bigs do when they pick and roll or pick and short roll or whatever, there's going to be openings in the corners for guys. And if you have like just a catch and shoot, maybe deck it and attack a closeout, that's fine to me, because you're not taking away from the other guys who are going to have the ball in their hands a lot. With Pritchard's skill set, it's almost a waste to put him in those minutes in the corner early in the game. Now, you want to close the game with Pritchard in the corner, that's fine, because at that point he's probably your best corner 3 guy. And if you want to close the minute, have the last 5 minutes of the game, then sure. At that point, you take away the isolation stuff, because now you're just like, okay, we're going to limit certain things, and Pritchard can still do what he does, but over the course of the first, second, third quarter, I want a more dynamic. If Pritchard is more dynamic and can, one of the best ball handlers in the league, then if you don't have a Tatum or a Brown on the floor, then let's use that ball handling to its advantage, to its absolute max, and put him out there where he can, hey, look, if there's a little extra defensive attention on him, so what? He pays dudes, he pays, pros to defend him 2 and 3 at a time anyway over the summer. That's what he's used to. So I can't get past a lot of this stuff. The way this team is made up this year, I need Pritchard off the bench. I think he's best for this team, especially, but I think he plays his best off the bench.
Look, more than 9 drives a game last year, right? Like that's a lot of drives. That's a lot of times, only less than Jaylen and Jayson, right? Like that's a lot of times that you collapse the defense. That's a lot of times that you draw people in. And now, right, not only is that a lot of drive, kick, swing, that's also a lot of opportunities to drive lob to Mitchell Robinson, right? There's that's a lot of opportunities for like you're saying, dynamic offense. I think and those are things, like you said, those are things that Jayson Tatum can do for the other parts of the game. It's just when he's off the floor, it's going to be really nice to have a guy who can do all that again.
Also, side note, I like the chemistry he and Neemias Queta have. So I've said before that I think Mitchell Robinson should start. Yeah. Mostly because like it's not again. I don't buy into like, oh, this guy deserved it, that guy deserved it.
Necessarily. He earned it. He deserves it.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, let's put Mitchell Robinson in as a starter because you don't do the hack a Mitch, to start games. There's no team fouls, so they're not going to do that. Queta's going to get
Popovich would, but that's neither here nor
there. But I also, side note, like the Queta Pritchard chemistry. They spent all last season, developed great chemistry. Having both those guys come off the bench, I like that. Continuity wise, you keep that pairing together. I just kind of like that because Tatum and Mitchell they'll figure it out. Tatum's so good. They'll figure it out, but to keep those two, Pritchard and Queta, together, again, they're going to play plenty of minutes. It's going to be fine. So I like that together. So that I think that when we're talking about rotations, I kind of want to keep that together. I think it would work really well, especially with no Jay there to kind of supplement them. Okay. How much better can Payton Pritchard actually get? He talked about it. I've referenced this before, but we'll talk about it again. The physical versus the mental improvements. I think his quote says a lot. We'll get into that when we come back here on the Lockdown Celtics podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos. I know how that goes. You're hiring. You've got resumes in your inbox, but the workplace still churns along, and there's one less person there to do the work. We're talking about how the Celtics go without one of their J's. You're trying to fill that spot. How do you do it? Indeed sponsored jobs is how you do it because they will go out and help you find the candidates with the skills, the certifications, the location, all the types of things you're looking for in a candidate so you can spend less time searching and more time finding the right fit. In this minute that I'm talking to you, companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So make sure that you're taking advantage of this tool instead of hoping that the right candidate gets into your inbox and you have to go through and search and be like, well, maybe, well, yes, well, no. They're going to go out and they're going to find the type of people that you're looking for. Again, you've got deadlines. You got now twice as much work. People are doing the work of, to make up that spot. Everybody's a little upset. If you can spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of these boxes, it saves you time, it saves you stress, you get more results. So you need Indeed sponsored jobs to go find you the right person. And you can use the $75 sponsored job credit that you're getting because you're listening to this podcast at Indeed.com/podcast. Take that $75 sponsored job credit, put your job on Indeed.com/podcast right now. You can also show your support by saying you've heard about Indeed here on this show. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day, being with me Monday, Wednesday, Friday for now. We might throw in a couple extra podcasts as we're still at 3 days a week. Maybe it's 4. Maybe we'll do 5. I don't know. But it will definitely be 5 days a week starting at the end of September, heading into October. As Media Day gets here, we're so close to the beginning of the season. So make sure that you are subscribed. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Sports Illustrated's Celtics on SI. Make sure you're reading my entire series. I'm doing a series on every player or position. So check it out right now. It's Wednesday, and what you can expect from Payton Pritchard is live on the site. So go check that out there. All right, Tom, the quote from Pritchard, he gave it to Chris Forsberg. And I think it's really important because it's kind of like an admission of sorts where he said, you know, as far as skill development, once you get really good, it's hard to be like, oh, I'm going to develop a better left-hand dribble. Or like when you're kind of maxing out, it's the more mental at this stage. And can you get just a little bit better and better? That to me says so much about where he sees himself. And look, at 29 years old, he's not old. He's 29. He turns 29 in January.
Yeah.
So at 28, 29, you're like right at the peak of your powers. But you're also kind of who you are at this point, right? There's at this point, it's work smarter, not harder. Although he's going to work harder than everybody, but it's, how much can you slow the game down? How much can you say, you've got all of these tools in your bag now, how can you better deploy them? How do you read the game so you can be like, oh, this is my step back. I'm setting up this defense better than I have in the past. So when people are talking about the next bullet point that we have here on the show, how big a leap, we've referenced this before. People talk about the Jaylen Brunson leap. I just don't see that level. That's an all NBA. He's not even an all-star, and people want him to make an all NBA jump. That I don't think that's there. I think he might get a couple extra points a game. Could he get to 20? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 20, but last year he started 50 games. He had plenty of opportunity, and it didn't really lead to a big, massive leap. Some people may say Jaylen Brown held him back. I don't think I don't think he held him back. Even if you can say, well, he didn't hold him back so much that he was like, oh, this is Jaylen Brunson ready to emerge. And because of Jaylen Brown, he didn't know. Come on. I think Pritchard is who he is, and he can hone it and become better at who he is. But I'm not expecting some sort of like miraculous, like 5, 6, 7, 8 points a game jump. I think what he said, reading the game better and becoming a little bit more efficient, I think that's what we can expect next season.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting to like think about him, you know, when you talk about mental improvements, there were a lot of big games last year, and there've been big games over the course of his career where, you know, like we've talked about this earlier this summer. As an innings eater, he's amazing, right? Like as like a guy who just like helps you pick up those extra like 5-10 wins that push you from like being the 4th seed to the 1 or the 2 seed, like you know, because you beat some, you know, you beat Charlotte on a what was it, Charlotte on a Monday and whatever, you know, like because you won you won 5 to 10 of those games that you should win because your guys, you know, stepped up in those moments. Those are really important guys. But I think the interesting thing is whether like this season, it's going to be important for Pritchard to also be himself, right? Like you're talking about, be himself, do all these things that he can do in some of those bigger games, in, you know, game 3 of the first round, right? Where it's not just game 4 of the first round, or it's not just game 3, it's also games 4 and 5 of a playoff series, right?
Yeah.
I think those things are important. I think that kind of speaks to whatever that is, right? Whether that's mental, whether that's, you know, being able to beat a defense that can shift over the course of a series and defend you better. being able to counter that in the moment, I think those things are really important for a guy like Pritchard. But yeah, I think it is interesting to think about how he could read the game better, because I do think he is very much a scorer, right? Like, it's like he's a score first guy, and he should be. He's awesome at it, right? Like, he's just truly an excellent scorer. But it is interesting to think about, like, yeah, okay, you developed some chemistry with Queta last year. If you can develop that with Queta and Mitchell Robinson, I mean, that might be the difference between, an extra 2 assists a game, right? Like an extra 2 or 3 assists a game. Like that makes a difference. That makes not only does that make a difference to your team in terms of winning, which is the important thing, but also it makes a difference in just kind of how your stat line looks, right? Like, it'll make a difference in if you're making a 6th man of the year case for yourself, whatever it is. Like, those things matter too. So yeah, I think those are the 2 things I'm interested in seeing. The playmaking is interesting, but then also, just being able to be yourself in the bigger games where your team needs that little extra boost where maybe it was missing sometimes in the past.
So last year, his assist rate was third on the team, which was great to see. So at 23.5%, he was actually had a higher assist rate than Derek White, and was like Jaylen Brown had the highest, but Pritchard was right there. I want to see what his I can't figure out the assists here, the assist rate, but I can see that as a starter, he averaged 5.3 assists, and as a reserve, 5 assists. So it's pretty even.
Yeah. That's pretty
good. He's pretty good.
That's quite good. Yeah.
I think that's another reason why, like, him and Queta, that right there will be a big source of his assists. And also, if he's going to be a primary attack kind of guy, then he'll get a lot of like swings to the corner. Like he'll get more assists on 3-pointers than he's used to.
Well, also it's also interesting, right? Because it's like with Queta and Mitchell Robinson, even just from a stature perspective, he's short. It's hard to like, one of the reasons Tatum is so good at whipping those passes to 3-point shooters is because he can see over everybody. Pritchard can't quite as well. So some of those like little lobs, right? If Mitchell Robinson or Queta is diving to the hoop and he's throwing those passes, that's a much easier pass for a guy like him. So having another guy in addition to Queta might benefit him as well.
So how big of a leap? I just don't see it being. I don't even know if he's going to be an all-star. Like I don't. People are saying like Jaylen Brunson. If he averages, like he averaged 17 a game last season. Let's see here. Let me get that 17 a game. This is great podcasting. 17 on the nose last season. And a little bit more as a starter, a little bit less as a little bit more as a reserve, a little bit less as a starter. Can he add 3 points a game to his? I think with some of the efficiency, his 3-point shooting dropped a little bit. If he can get that back closer to 40%, if he can finish a little bit better at the rim, maybe draw a couple of extra free throws, he can get himself up to 20, 21 points a game. No problem. I can see that. 21 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. That would be a hell of a season. Could that be an all-star season? Borderline. In the East, tough for a guard, but borderline. He'd be, in the some level of discussion. And I think that would be that. I think that's going to be like the maximum improvement. We're not going to see 25 points per game. We're not going to see him be like, oh my God, he's the second best player. He's a guaranteed all-star, anything like that. And I don't want people to be disappointed when he doesn't do that, because he's still Payton Pritchard. And I think Payton Pritchard is a really damn good player. And I don't want the conversation to kind of derail into like, you set the expectation so high that it's impossible for him to kind of live up to those. I want people to appreciate that Payton Pritchard is, considering where he was, 26th pick in the draft, that he's 6'1", and that we're even talking about him averaging 20 a game and 25 and 4. Like that would be an incredible season from him. So I think that's kind of where I would put the leap. You talk about how big a leap. adding 3 or 4 points a game and the assists kind of staying somewhere in the 5 range, that I think that would be okay. You know, that would be great. Yep. Anything above that would be beautiful, but I'm not like, there are other players on this team. You know what I mean? So
well, and if you're thinking about All-Star, there's some point guards out there in the Eastern Conference. Like you're talking about like Maxey, Brunson, Cade, like
there's some
hefty guys out there.
It'd be hard. All right. But listen, 26th pick in the draft. Where would we love a redraft here. So let's go back to 2020. We're going to look back at 2020 and see where would Payton Pritchard go. We'll do that when we come back here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day, being with me every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, again, for the next few weeks, and then 5 days a week. And you never know when I'll drop an extra podcast, so make sure you're subscribed. After you're done with this show, go check out Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA's got you covered with 2 podcasts on the same feed, afternoons, covering all the big stories, and at night, too, 7 days a week at night. So make sure you're subscribed to that. All right, Tom Westerholm, let's go take a look here at the 2020 NBA draft, where Payton Pritchard was drafted 26th by the Celtics. And at that point, people were like, huh? Who? Him? When he got his contract extension, people were like, really? That's a lot? And he just keeps proving people wrong. So now, Let's look through this and redraft. We know that at the top, Anthony Edwards is probably still going to go number 1. Tyrese Halliburton.
So. Halliburton pushes him a little bit, but yeah, I think so.
I still think it's Anthony Edwards. Halliburton pushes him. Tyrese Maxey, who went 21st, pushes him. So those are your top 3.
Yeah. Somehow in some order. Yeah.
Then we get to 4. And I think Desmond Bane.
Sure.
Do you take Desmond Bane 4th?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. I mean, look. You got to take LaMelo Ball at some point, right?
Okay. But I'm still.
I would take him 4th, but
I'm so out on LaMelo. So I don't know where
somebody
I would take
doesn't
him.
Spend enough time brain rotting on YouTube. Okay.
All right. Okay. Yes, LaMelo Ball is in there. He went 3rd. But no. I think I would take Desmond Bane 4th. I will grudgingly say LaMelo Ball is somewhere, and he's got to be. I guess he's got to be next. Then, okay, so that's 5. We're at 5. And we're starting to get into the, okay, where do you go next? Is it Jaden McDaniels? Would you take him above Payton Pritchard?
For me, I think Jaden McDaniels is next. Yeah.
Yeah. I like him, and he's younger.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I think it's one of the ones that's interesting to me is Denny, right? Because
yes,
I would rather I would rather have Payton Pritchard than Denny Avdia, and I know that sounds a little crazy, but I think that Denny Avdia is so much harder to fit onto a team, that like a winning team, than Payton Pritchard. I think Payton Pritchard is just so easy to just put him in there. You got something. You got, he'll give you threes, he'll give you drives, he'll give you innings, he'll give you all kinds of stuff, right? I love that. Whereas, I don't know, man. Do you want a guy who needs to crash to the rim and, draw free throws all the time? Like, it's helpful.
Yeah.
He's a good player, but I think I would rather have Payton Pritchard.
It's an interesting debate because, you're right. Denny Avdia, he shot 32, not even 32% from 3 last year. With all that usage, he's never really been, aside from one season in Washington where he was above average at 37.4%. He's been kind of average to very below average.
Yeah.
So he's not really much of a 3-point shooter. He needs the ball in his hands a lot.
That's my
listen.
thing. Yep.
24.7 rebounds, 6.7 assists. I mean, he puts up the raw numbers. He does put up the raw numbers, but so ball dominant that I think the consensus would be Deni Avdija is next. But even so, that's still 7th, and we're at the 8th pick. So if you think that in all of this, Payton Pritchard would go, first of all, somewhere in the top 10, right? I think we can settle on that. Whether it's 7th or 8th, who's 9th, right? Like let's just put a because we're at 6, 7, 8, and 9. There's 4 players. Let's just put a pool of players in there and figure out, like, Aaron Neesmith. He went 14th. Beef stew. I mean, I think Emmanuel quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah, that was, Okoro's like not moving me too much. In this.
I mean, Okoro's nice, but I would rather have Pritchard. Yeah,
I would. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Precious Achua, no, I'd rather have Pritchard. Like Zeke Naji, no, I'd rather have Pritchard. Like,
Isaiah Joe is pretty low in the. Devin Vassell is the guy that we haven't mentioned, who's kind of interesting too, obviously. But I mean, Isaiah Joe, Devin Vassell, like those guys are, those guys are good at some things. But I mean, I think it comes down to, for me, it comes down to Avdija versus Pritchard at that stage, and yeah, it's Pritchard for me.
I would say Pritchard is at the very worst a top 10 pick in 2020 draft. Like we can maneuver around, but I don't think if we allow for a non-Celtics podcast to come in here and redraft. Oh, okay, guys, okay, you've done your thing. Take off the green glasses. I still don't think you get past 10.
You definitely don't get past 10.
So. Allowing for a little bit of that somewhere in the top 10, Payton Pritchard. So to get a guy at 26 that now 6-7 years later, you're saying that he would be a top 10 pick in that draft. That's pretty good. And considering what you've paid him over the years, that's a massive, massive hit. So shout out to Payton Pritchard. For all of the arguing against things that people will say, why do you hate Payton Pritchard? And I think Pritchard is one of the most level-headed. He's super competitive. He's the hardest worker. He is like everything you would want in a basketball player. He's just a guy that you kind of really need to have on your team because he doesn't care. Like he's not going to listen to this conversation and be like pissed that I'm saying he should come off the bench. He may, even if he disagrees, I think he would listen to it and be like, I understand what you're saying. I disagree, but or whatever. Or maybe he does agree. Maybe he's like, you know what? I do like coming off the bench. I like being that guy. And for some people that's fine. Like, I understand. Like when you don't start, you sit on the bench. There's like an emotional feeling like, oh man, you feel like you're not good enough. But at this level, at the NBA level, you have to understand you need 8, 9, 10 guys to all perform at a certain level. And I'm saying that Payton Pritchard performs at a very high level. When you deploy him, to me, doesn't matter, and it's not meant to be an insult. I think I still consider it a compliment that to say his skills, just because you deploy it at a different time in the game, his skills are so important, so good that he's one of the reasons why the Celtics will be better than maybe some of the expectations. So I shout out to Payton Pritchard. The fact that in all of this time, all of the things that he's added, all of the stuff that he's elevated his game to a point where you would look back on that draft and be like, there's no way he gets out of the top 10. That's just incredible work from him.
Definitely. I have like 5 guys. I could say them in 20 seconds. 5, name those guys that I thought were all going to hit in the 2020 draft that absolutely did not. RJ Hampton, I was a big believer. Malachi Flynn, I really thought that Malachi Flynn had it. I thought he was going to be a really good player. Pokusevski was like, I don't know, man. Like that guy should have worked. That guy, I mean, I know he was like a real skinny and all that stuff, but man, I loved Cassius Stanley. I thought that whether or not he made it in the NBA, I thought that dude just could jump out of the gym. I was so excited to watch him. And Grant Riller, I was always a little excited about Grant Riller. So yeah, that's my quick. Man, when I was looking back through the draft, I was like, oh my gosh, those are some guys. I want to name some guys.
B-Ball Paul is in this. Sam Merrill is in this. And Yamadar, still waiting to see on what Yamadar is. So we still hold that one out. We'll see if we can watch him on LSU. Although he's already been ruled ineligible. So all right, Tom, thanks for hopping on, buddy.
Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you who have been waiting so bated breath for the Wednesday podcast to finally come out. I know it was a little bit late, but I was traveling a little bit. But this is the Wednesday show. We'll be back for our Friday show, and then 3 days a week next week. And then maybe we'll toss in a couple of bonuses here and there. But make sure you're subscribed, get this podcast wherever you get your podcast, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section, share your thoughts. Let us know you agree, disagree on Payton Pritchard, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.